Hey there, Broncos fans. Got some news and rumors to get into on today's show, but we got to start off by talking about our boy Peyton Manning into the Broncos Ring of Fame. I want you to spam congrats in the comments section. Show him some love. A great accomplishment, obviously, for Manning. There shouldn't be any reason why I don't see 50, 75, 100 of you guys in there saying congrats. It's the pinned comment. Very first one you'll see right underneath this video. So scroll on down right now and show it some love. Let's lead off the show talking about Deshaun Watson here on the Broncos Breakdown by Chat Sports. Does he want to be in Denver for the second time this offseason? Kareem Jackson says, yes, he does. Told Aqib Talib on his podcast, Catch and Fades, that Watson said he wants to be in Denver. Now, a long ways to go in terms of getting him to Denver, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. Still facing 22 civil lawsuits that have yet to be resolved and settled at this point, and obviously has requested a trade from Houston this offseason, but he's got bigger things on his hands right now. We'll dive into that here in a little bit, but first, let's show what Kareem Jackson had to say, again, on the Catch and Fades podcast with Aqib Talib. Said, I've got a great relationship with Deshaun. I've been talking to him the last couple weeks. All he's telling me is, look, Jack, just tell him that that's where I want to be. And during the time where I was going through my little free agency thing, I ended up signing back here. Before I signed, he called and was like, man, are you going to sign? And I was like, I don't know. I'm not sure yet. He was like, all right, well, let me know what you're going to do. And I signed back, and he was like, listen, tell them I want to be in Denver. So not only the second time, maybe even the third time that he's told Kareem Jackson that he wants to be in Denver. So let's break it down a little bit. For starters, a trade isn't happening anytime soon. It's just not. There's too much left to be resolved in Deshaun Watson's legal case. 22 civil lawsuits, like I said, that have yet to be resolved. He might not even play next season, depending on how those go. They could be settled before the season starts, and you could see Deshaun Watson back on the field. Whether that's for the Texans or not, I doubt it. But either way, those could also go to court, in which case trial could come as early as May 2022. So there's a lot that is yet to be resolved in terms of the Deshaun Watson off-the-field situation. And we know that on the field, he's a stud. There's no doubt about it. His career stats speak for themselves. In just 4 seasons, he's established himself as a premier quarterback in the league. 67.8 completion percentage, nearly 14 or over 14,000 passing yards, over 100 touchdowns, and that QB rating is absolutely awesome. And he does the damage on the ground as well. You guys know this. Over 1,600 rushing yards in his career, 5 yards a carry. He's added 17 touchdowns on the ground, which is pretty impressive in and of itself. So there's no denying that Deshaun Watson is a good player. He's a great player. He's a top 5 quarterback, and he's just now entering his prime years, still 25 years old. My thing, if you're talking to the Broncos, my message is simple. If you want Watson, be ready to wait, because this isn't going to be an offseason trade where he's starting week 1 for Denver. I highly doubt any of his civil troubles and any of those legal lawsuits will be resolved by then. So it's very much a wait and see process. And the thing is, the Broncos are not the only ones. You know, teams like the Jets and the Dolphins that have been linked to him all offseason, even a team like the Eagles that have been reported to be willing to show some interest. They're going to have to fight for Deshaun Watson, and more importantly, they're going to have to make sure that he is completely clear off the field, because this is a serious lawsuit, as we have talked about on the show, serious civil case to be in for Deshaun Watson. So that's the latest, but if Kareem Jackson's telling the truth, it's at least encouraging for Broncos fans knowing, hey, if all the stuff off the field gets settled, you've got a potential star in Denver. So I'll leave it up to you to determine in the comments section, what's the % chance you think that the Broncos trade for Deshaun Watson? And I'm not talking about just this offseason. This can be at any point in time. This could be later this year. This could even wind up being next offseason. Probably put it around 20, 25%. Still a couple teams in the mix. But I want to know from you in the comments section. Be sure to subscribe to the Broncos Breakdown by Chat Sports, because we're going to keep you up to date with everything going around in Denver, the latest news and rumors. We just crossed 3,000 subscribers and couldn't have done it without your help. Now we're trying to get to 4,000. We're already off to a pretty hot start. If you want more videos like this, if you enjoy what we're doing so far, chances are you'll like more of our videos. So be sure to hit that big red button and subscribe today. If you missed the news, A, you might be living under a rock, but B, you're in the right place here on the Broncos Breakdown. Peyton Manning has been elected to the Broncos Ring of Fame, the 35th inductee to the Broncos' prestigious organization and a brotherhood. A huge accomplishment for Peyton Manning, obviously. Unanimously elected the 35th member. I mean, there's no doubt about it, right? Led the Broncos to 2 Super Bowls in 4 seasons, one of which they won, and produced one of the best seasons ever by a quarterback. And we'll jump into his numbers, obviously, because he was unreal in 2013. You guys know how wild of a ride that was. 68.3% completion percentage, over 5,400 passing yards. That led the league. 55 passing touchdowns. That led the league. And a QBR of 79.0. That led the league. He was phenomenal that season. And really, the majority of his time with the Broncos, we can talk all we want about that last season and how it went down, but 140 touchdowns in 58 games is just stellar. That interception ratio kind of got ruined there in those back 2 seasons, but the completion percentage, the yardage, he was stellar with the Broncos, and the Broncos were stellar with him. Look at the records they had throughout his time in Denver. 13-3 his first year, lost in the divisional round. A loss in the Super Bowl to the Seattle Seahawks, one of the worst nights I can remember, but a 13-3 record nonetheless. 12-4 and 14-15. His last season obviously capped off, walking off into the sunset with that Super Bowl victory over Cam Newton and the Carolina Panthers. I have a special connection with Peyton Manning, my favorite player of all time, even before I became a Broncos fan, to be quite honest with you. You know, I grew up liking players. I was never stuck on a team. Now I've been a Broncos fan for, 12, 13, 14 years now. But Peyton Manning was my favorite player of all time, did things the right way, and man, on the field was he absolutely phenomenal. And when he came to Denver, it was 2 stars aligning for me. It was perfect, a perfect reunion, my favorite player and my favorite team. And boy, did it produce one of the winningest periods in Broncos history. And I think really Peyton Manning showed what it meant to be a Bronco, showed that fight, that tenacity that I think the fan base loved and adored him for. The leadership standpoint, something that's carried through his entire career, brought that to Denver. Him and Von Miller really imposed themselves as strong leaders on this team, and it really just carried through the entire locker room. You saw so many players break out through this Broncos lineup. Guys like Demaryius Thomas just absolutely balling out. Julius Thomas, a season out of nowhere. Peyton Manning really deserved to be inducted into the Ring of Fame here. A great time with the Broncos, 4 incredibly successful seasons. And like I said, riding out into the sunset after that Super Bowl win, there's just no better way to do it. So I'll spam my congrats in the comments section. I want you to spam yours in the comments section as well. What a career he's had and what a time he had with the Denver Broncos. Still involved in the organization as well, which I really like to see after his time was over. And obviously talking about mentoring Drew Lock this offseason, watching tape, clear that he still wants to be involved in this organization. So show him some love. Spam congrats in the comments section. All right, real quick to wrap up today's show. Recently reported here within the last, half hour or so, and we're hopping on to get the video. Perfect timing, you know what I mean? The Broncos preseason games have been just released. For all 32 teams, the NFL released their preseason schedule, dates, and times. A shortened preseason, 3 games only to accommodate for that 17-game season. But the Broncos start on August 14th, traveling to Minnesota to take on the Vikings, 4 p.m. Eastern time. They got Seattle on the 21st, the following weekend in Seattle against the Seahawks. That will be at 10 p.m. Eastern time. And then the Los Angeles Rams, their only home game of the preseason, on the 28th. Should be an interesting time for Denver. Really, those games are crucial, and especially with the shortened game, trying to make those big decisions to finalize the final 53-man roster. We'll see what happens across the preseason. We'll see what the snaps look like at quarterback. Another storyline to follow, and you're going to want to keep it here on the Broncos Breakdown because we'll be with you the entire way.